Hey guys, I thought I would just hop on today. My intention was to test out Blue Sky's live streaming feature, which it looks like for me, the only way to do it was through Twitch. And I'm a new Twitch user, so we'll see. But I hope everyone's okay. Today's crazy. I hope everyone's safe from the weather, and my heart goes out to those in Minneapolis. I know y'all have been seeing what's unfolding there. I did want to talk about what's going on with the funding bill a little bit in light of Minneapolis. And this is not just today, it's Minneapolis for weeks now. And how there are some Democrats that still voted for the bill, the funding bill, which includes DHS funding, and I'm feeling like they're playing both sides. Before I go further, let me add in X. Go live there. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about. I want to show you guys a video. Well, first, just so we're up to date here, we're up to speed here. This is the latest video today. So I think y'all have been seeing, but the victim, to me, I don't see a gun. A lot of people are pointing out a cell phone. The New York Times is pointing out a cell phone and no gun. But also in Minnesota, it is legal to carry and conceal a gun as long as you have a permit, right? So that happened this morning. I want to show this as well. My name is Matthew James. So ICE is not de-escalating anything. DHS is not de-escalating anything. They've already, disparaged the victim's name. His name is Lex. And this happened with the protesters. And just listen to this. I'm a United States citizen. To be clear, this is not the shooting game. This is another man. You're gonna kill me! That's what you want? You want to kill me? You want to kill me on the street? You're gonna have to fucking kill me!
You can hear a man that they're holding down on the street saying, "I've done nothing wrong." He's saying his name. These are, as Alex Tabbitt was describing, some of these are sort of practiced things where people learn what they're supposed to do if they come into contact with these federal officers. They try and record as much as they can, and they say certain things. Now, what's going on here?
Let it out.
What a scene, Minneapolis.
So this is the video, the latest video we saw. His name is Lex Jeffrey Preddy. He's an ICU nurse, 37 years old. And I think we're safe in calling this a murder. But anyway, the thing that's crazy to me is DHS came right out and called him, he said he had an intent to massacre. An intent to massacre. I mean, that's a pretty serious claim, and there's no evidence to show that. And I think since then they've even called him a terrorist. That seems to be their MO. They never have any proof for these things, and they've been caught in so many lies. I don't think anyone should take their word for it. In fact, when I heard that this morning, before we knew who the victim's name was, we heard their claims that he was trying to massacre or he had a gun, right? I don't know that he had a gun or not. I don't see it here, but it has been said that. Let me show the. Sorry, guys, I just had to enable the comments here. They don't show. There's not a gun here. that I can see. But I have heard reported that he did have a gun on him. But again, concealed carry, open carry is legal in Minnesota as long as you have a permit. Then I also heard it reported that he did have a gun permit. So this will be interesting how they continue to spin this one. They also said that Department of Justice is going to handle the investigation. But that's after they already made these, after the Department of Homeland Security made these claims. And, I have to say, I'm not a big fan of a lot of what the police, do. I mean, the Black community has been experiencing this for forever, it seems. But I will say this, they at least attempt to investigate. They, it's definitely, we investigated ourselves and we found we did nothing wrong. And I expect no less from Department of Justice. However, I think it's all fake. But at least the police, it may go to the DA, it may go to, a third party, but there's an investigation. It takes a long time, and then we get results. Does anybody think we're ever going to get results? We're ever going to see the evidence from the DOJ? It's just going to be more spin. You have the president of the United States weighing on this and really putting a negative spin on it. So what I really wanted to talk about today is, and I'll try and make this quick. I'm going to play a video.
Look at the big headline, which is
this week, I think it was Thursday, the House passed the new spending bill, and it's now in the hands of the Senate. So I saw this yesterday on Morning Joe, and it really bothered me. And I want to share this with you guys, and I'll explain why.
They got a good bipartisan. Let's look at the big headline, which
first, let me tell you, that is Rep. Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey, Democratic rep on the left, and on the right is Rep. Lawler of New York. And I'm gonna let them say a little bit, and then I want to tell you something about this.
Which is we actually got a good bipartisan appropriations package done, working together, and then let's get the Senate to do it now and make sure the government doesn't shut down. Obviously a difference on this one particular bill. I've got a real problem with the fact that there wasn't any accountability measures at all, despite asking for it. This was our chance to actually put in strong transparency and accountability measures, and they didn't go for it. But that's an area where we disagree. But again, I think the headline should be where we worked together and got something big done.
So here, our Democrat representative. I mean, he's not my particular representative, but he is on our side, right? He's a Democrat and he's in the House. And he seems to be more concerned with this being a bipartisan bill. And that seems to be the talking point. Not the funding that's included for ICE, additional funding. The ICE is already very well funded. This is additional. In fact, I have notes here on how much funding is in here, and I'll get to that. But he's concerned about the bipartisan nature of this bill.
The first time in 29 years that 12 appropriations bills have been passed in the manner in which we have. Normally it's passed as one big omnibus thrown all together, and this was a positive step forward for the appropriations process to really fund the government and start addressing some of the problems within. As far as Homeland Security bills, 7 Democrats joined the Republicans in passing it. There was bipartisan support for it. Obviously, I understand, the political climate that we're in right now. When it comes to local law enforcement, part of the problem is that in states like New York, in states like Minnesota, where there are sanctuary policies, local law enforcement is prohibited from cooperating with ICE. And we want that to change. I think a lot of these issues that are being raised could be addressed if.
So there you have Gottheimer, Democrat, Lawler, Republican. They are both part of the Problem Solvers Caucus in the House. And hopefully that sounds familiar to you, but No Labels came out of that caucus. And No Labels was Joe Manchin, Lieberman, and it was their effort to basically throw out Joe Biden, get enough support to basically head him off at the pass for his reelection. This is well before, well before the primary and the Democratic primary in 2024. And they basically were saying that Joe Biden had went too far left. So keep that in mind. That's part of the DNA of the caucus, the Problem Solvers Caucus, and they're not new. They've been around.
States and politicians in those states would allow local law enforcement to do their jobs and cooperate with immigration officials to enforce federal immigration law. So that has been part of the challenge and why you see a flood of ICE agents coming into states like.
So Lawler is trying to basically connect the fact that ICE is in these states and cities because they're sanctuary cities. And so that's why they're there. And, I'm calling bullshit on that. I think y'all can see that's not correct. I know in Minneapolis, the mayor has been saying that they are not informing them of anything. They did early on want to cooperate with them, and now they're basically like, just get out. Like with 2 murders and shootings in the city, ICE needs to go. And honestly, who wants them in? I do not want them in LA. And I've heard rumors that they're going to do that same playbook that they use in Minneapolis in Los Angeles. So let's get
Minnesota that are not cooperating. But you have to remember, we had over 10 million migrants flood into this country, into communities all across the nation, including in New York. And so when you have states like New York or Minnesota that are refusing to cooperate, and you have murderers, you have child rapists, you have people committing sodomy and rape.
So he's going to the familiar talking points that Republicans always use. They're acting like immigrants are a danger to society. And the problem I have with that, in addition to the fact that it's not true, they spin it as if they are the problem, that they are the violent force that we're facing, when it's actually American citizens who are doing the vast majority of crime, even if you do per capita, percentage, whatever. And they go back to this familiar talking point. I'm not saying there are no cases of immigrants murdering, but I'm not afraid of immigrants. I will tell you, the immigrants I have in my life, undocumented citizens I have they don't want trouble. They do not want trouble from the police. They are law-abiding members of society. And I think what Lawler is saying right now is highly offensive and just not true.
On the streets, and they're refusing to detain these folks. What is it that you would like ICE to do?
And did you notice he said on the streets and they're refusing to detain these folks? He's talking about local police. That also is not true. Lawlessness on the streets is enforced, and crime has been going down, including in Minneapolis.
Do nothing? Leave them on the streets? That's the fundamental challenge that we're dealing with.
I just want to say one thing. Obviously, if you're a gang member, a terrorist, a criminal, you shouldn't be here. And Mike and I have supported lots of legislation making that very clear. I think the big issue is, and why lots of Americans are concerned, including here in Jersey, and I'm sure Mike's got the same issue in New York, is that they're rounding up innocent people and asking questions after, when you're pulling somebody out of their home who is an American citizen, and then after they're in the car and handcuffed, asking them questions like this. And I'm sure you saw in Maine, they arrested this corrections officer. And the local sheriff there, law enforcement, said, "Wait, what's going on here? This is nuts." I think it's not wrong, and Mike's right to say, "Hey, listen, if you're a bad guy, you shouldn't be here, and we should and there should be strong cooperation between local and federal to make sure that doesn't happen." The issue is, how do we get better training? You're putting people on, lots of ICE officers who aren't well trained. They're not taking the steps that law enforcement would take to make sure you're getting the right person, and they're asking questions later, not in the beginning. And that's the problem. And I think that's the issue we have to address. Let's look at the big.
So again, problem solvers, bipartisan problem solvers caucus. They are members of that caucus, and they come from the frame or the approach that bipartisan is good. And I think, if we're talking about an infrastructure bill, I agree. Bipartisan is good. But do we need bipartisan when we're talking about ICE? They are violating civil rights. They're violating the Constitution, and they're murdering people on the streets, and we can see that. There's the video evidence supports that, and these two gentlemen really are not taking that into account. They're not telling us about the gravity of what we're seeing. It's sort of like in passing. Oh yeah, they're doing some bad things, and I guess I'm bringing this up because I'm seeing that from more than just one Democrat. It's a few, and you know who they are. You've been seeing it. You've been seeing them on cable news, on social, and they are basically saying, yeah, ICE is okay when they follow the rules. They're not okay. There's nothing to save with ICE. And I just want to remind folks, this is our tax dollars we're talking about to fund ICE. And so ICE is doing these actions in our name. And I don't want my tax dollars going to that. I don't want my tax dollars going, to this poor man that we all saw in St. Paul, battering ram to break down his door. Then there was all these lies about this too, right? There was lies from DHS about, oh, he was a pedophile, or that's what they were going to do, is arrest a pedophile. And then it changed to, oh, he lived with two pedophiles. It turns out, U.S. citizen, no criminal record whatsoever. He was not a wanted man. Here's an old man they bring out of the house after using a battering ram. They bring him out of the house and nothing but his underwear or sleepwear and a blanket. The residents, Minneapolis, God bless them, they are not having this, or in this case, St. Paul. They're shouting them down. But there's something else you have to see. And I've posted about this, and maybe you've seen it, but watch this. They have suppressors on their rifles. These are silencers, more commonly known. Why? Why do you need this amount of ICE agents in tactical gear with rifles using suppressors in broad daylight, even for a pedophile? This is stuff you see when they're trying to take down a cartel. If there's a sting operation to take down a cartel, they are routinely using these weapons in Minnesota and on nonviolent people, whether they're immigrants or not, whether they're undocumented or not. We can have that argument. A lot of them appeared not to be undocumented, and even some of the immigrants they're taking in. I think a lot of people are like, oh, they're grouping everyone together as as undocumented. A lot of these people are in the system. They're going for their court hearings. They're following the procedures that they've been given, and then they're snatched and sent. And there's also a systematic routine with ICE, with Homeland Security, where they are moving them to detention centers not in their area, so their families do not know where they are. Their counsel cannot find them. It's really abusive what we're seeing, and we all know that. But I guess my point is today, what I wanted to make sure everyone's thinking along these lines. If you're a Democrat representative or senator, and you're not really talking about the gravity of what's happening with ICE, and you're basically making it sound like it's okay to fund ICE or to vote yes on these bills, and your excuse is bipartisan, I don't think that's really the proper word. You are helping Republicans. You are helping Donald Trump. Bipartisan is good sometimes, or often, when we're talking about a bill that is helping people. If you're funding ICE, if you're adding funding to ICE, who are you helping? Who are you helping? This is a lawless agency. And if you're one of the Democrats on social media, and when someone like me is criticizing a Democrat for why are you moving this bill forward with my tax dollars? I don't want that. And you're defending them. Well, they're a Democrat and blah, blah. That is bullshit. You need to stop it, because who are you helping? You're really not helping that Democrat, because we need to hold them accountable. They are our electeds. You're helping Republicans fund ICE. I just want everyone to please think in those terms. We can have a discussion about when it's valid to criticize Democrats and when it's not. That said, not all Democrats, there are most Democrats voted against funding ICE. And I'm hoping the Senate steps up and defeats that bill. We do not need to add more funding to ICE. To be clear, defeating that bill will not defund ICE. It will not end ICE. We have a long way to go with that one, probably another administration, but we should not be adding our tax dollars to that agency that barely trains their federal agents. And you can clearly see it from the beginning. Like, I started posting about the ICE raids in Los Angeles, which is where I live. The very first one in Home Depot I posted about, they were so unprofessional. They were not acting like cops. You could tell that from the get-go. And I'll add this too. The worst of the worst, they are not going after the worst of the worst. Here in LA, we do have, parts of town that have gangs. They don't go there. They're afraid. They don't go there because they know they're going to get capped. And so don't fall for that either. But I do want to share this.
Facing a familiar dilemma. Should they give DHS even more money as the government barrels toward another budget deadline at the end of the month? Or do they, at a minimum, make sure this does not go down without a fight?
This is hypothetical because Democrats don't have the numbers right now to dismantle or abolish
But
ICE.
they do have the ability to put up a fight in just a couple weeks.
In a couple of weeks, they could force a government shutdown over funding for DHS. Are you willing to have another government shutdown over this issue?
I'm not willing to vote for a budget bill that continues to fuel the violent behavior of that entity, ICE. I'm not willing to vote for a budget bill that doesn't present any major changes to the current condition, which is an entity that has become a very aggressive and violent weapon. And so I'm not willing to vote for that.
You have said that you won't vote for a single dollar to fund Trump's ICE operations until there are reforms. So what are you demanding, and is that leverage that can actually work?
Well, what I'm saying is exactly as you quoted, that I am not going to cast a vote, not one dime, to support this lawless, brutal Trump ICE operation. So what I'm saying is, unless there are significant reforms to rein in this lawless ICE operation, and there was a federal judge that just this week said that ICE agents were violating people's constitutional rights, right? They were preventing them from engaging in protected, peaceful protest. So my view is there has to be dramatic change. I don't foresee this administration doing that at this moment. So I'm saying I won't provide any funding.
So when they're talking about funding, just remember, this is what they're funding. This is a 15-year-old and his father, his worst fears, being chased by ICE. My understanding is they did not know they were ICE in the beginning. Fast forward a little bit.
As Arnoldo continues to
And
film,
then ICE is ramming.
agents appear to ram into the Bazan's car at least 4 times.
DHS doesn't just deny their allegations. They actually say that Arnolfo, the father, struck their agents with his vehicle.
Okay.
That's DHS's official story. When we told them that we had video showing that not only was it actually the reverse, that their agents struck him 4 times, that was sort of the point in which our conversations with DHS broke down and we could no longer get answers from them.
So they lied like they're normally do. DHS is constantly lying. So I do not believe anything that comes out of their agency. I didn't believe that about the shooting this morning. I hope you guys don't. Here's another thing.
Down are the percentage of those who you have in custody who have actually committed a criminal offense versus just the civil infraction.
Every single individual has committed a crime, but 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes and crimes that they are charged with or have been convicted of that have come from other countries that are here illegally, first of all, and then they have committed a criminal act while they've been here or in their home countries as well.
But it's not 70%.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
70% of everyone
you
you have
guys keep
detained
changing
has-
your percentage. You pick and choose what numbers you think work, but that is the facts. Is that 70% of the people that we have detained have charges against them or have been convicted of charges, and they need to be brought to justice. And we're going to keep doing that no matter how much you guys keep lying and don't tell the public the truth. It absolutely is that these law enforcement officers are out there every day doing the work to protect the American people, and they will keep doing that because they believe in enforcing the law, which is exactly what President Trump has charged them with.
Okay. Well, our reporting is that 47%, based on your agency's own numbers, 47% have criminal convictions against them. But let's talk about the other
You're
numbers.
wrong again. Absolutely. We'll get you the correct numbers so you can use them in the future.
Well, that's from your agency.
All right. So just lies on top of lies. Don't believe anything, guys. And just remember, if, let me get this again. If, you know, if they're funding ICE, this is what they're funding. Basically, I'm going to call them Trump's secret police because that's what they're acting like. And we do not know how far this will go. We do not need ICE with tactical gear and silencers going to random doors. There's so much more footage I could show y'all to prove that point, but I'm not. I just hope I made it, I don't know, kind of gave you something to think about, that when, like, no Democrat should have their name on a ICE funding bill. No one. And again, it's our tax dollars they're using. So write your senators at this point, call them, tell them how you feel. It doesn't matter if they're Republicans, it has to be recorded. Democrats' offices have to record this. Let them know how you feel. Do not let them think that you're okay with this. And those seven Democratic House members that voted yes for that bill, call them too. It's too late. They already voted, but let them know how you feel. Put them on notice. Check them. I did post their names and their districts earlier this week. You can look in my timeline. I will refresh that in my timeline so it's at the top of the posts. And you know what? Somebody did a really good, let me see if I could find it here. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Somebody didn't miss a beat. I don't know who to give credit to for this graphic. I do graphics, but not this. This was great. These are the folks that voted to give ICE more money. And now that bill is in the Senate. Call these folks, let them know if they're your rep. No, this is not okay. But even more so, call your senators, blue, red, let them know that you're not okay with ICE funding. I know Republicans are not fine with it, too. MAGA, different story. But, your everyday Republican, if they actually see these videos, if they actually watch what's happening, they're not okay with this. This has nothing to do with security on the border. Anyway, y'all, thanks for listening. I'm just looking at the chat here. Appreciate you guys chiming in, and stay safe. Stay safe if you're protesting. One more thing. If you're protesting, please do it in the daytime. Do not do it at night. Do not give them the cover of darkness. We only see the videos we're seeing in broad daylight. If it's at night, we will not get to see them. So please stay safe. Protest in the daytime, with the light of day, and also stay safe from the weather. Anyway, I'll see y'all next time, if there is a next time. But thanks for tuning in and listening to what I have to say, and I appreciate your comments. Thanks so much.